All right, hello. My name is Sam Misko. I'll be presenting with Laurie Malone today. And what we're going to be talking about is a specific strategy for leveraging persuasive exercise technology with existing commercial off-the-shelf technology, like video games specifically. So we're going to talk about adaptive video games controllers, which my engineering group that I'm a part of was privileged to work on. I mean, we got paid to play video games all day, so not too bad. And also, how do you ground that in physical science, right? Like, how do you actually demonstrate outcomes, which Laurie Lakeshore and RecTech have done an excellent job of doing that. So, real quick, I wanted to talk about the video game industry as a whole. So, why are we interested in doing this, and how do we ground this in some kind of statistics? So real quickly, 42% of Americans play video games currently more than 3 hours a week. And if we try to translate that, if in a perfect world we could give them a way to do active video gaming for that same period of time, well then all of a sudden you meet the moderate aerobic physical activity requirement that's recommended by the US guidelines. And then the second part of that is how many people have access to these gaming consoles? Well, again, it's around 51% of U.S. households have a dedicated gaming console. And if you just imagine everyone has a computer in their home, so virtually everyone has access to one of these devices. So that was the first one. That's encouraging exercise. There's the other aspect of social engagement that we need to address. And this is something that's really come a long way in the last couple of years, where 39% of the most frequent gamers today play social games. And the way they kind of break that up is you can additionally see how people play online and also with people in their own home, with family members or friends. And you can see there you get 6.5 hours a week with others online, and then 5 hours a week with other people in person. So this is just an amazing thing that's already out there, people are already doing, and we just need to figure out how to leverage it for our needs. And then I think something, when I first started working on this project, I still thought, I don't play a lot of video games, but I thought, well, who are all these people, right? Well, the statistics are showing that it's an amazingly even demographic across the board. So even everybody over 50, that represents 27%, so it's the second largest group, which I thought was pretty interesting. I still think video games is something young people play. And then on the gender side too, it's an amazing split. The female population is actually underserved, and this is a big topic in the video game industry, is how to engage them more. But yeah, it's across the board. Everyone's playing video games these days, and there's really no reason why we can't make this work. So as a subset of video games, we're talking specifically about active video games. And that means that we're going a little bit beyond just pushing buttons and sitting on your couch, right? We want to get people up and moving and expending energy. But the most important thing here, right, is that video games allow you to engage and motivate people in a way that has the backing of billions of dollars of this huge video gaming industry. So, for example, like AAA games, and that's just a rating they use to talk about like Grand Theft Auto or these really big games that have billions of dollars behind them and have whole teams of engineers, psychologists, everybody contributing to this one piece of software that's only goal is to get you to buy it or to get you to play as much as humanly possible. So why not leverage that, right? I mean, there's very few things where you could say, well, I can jump on that, where they're already spending billions of dollars making the best game possible. So all we have to do is make some changes to the controllers to make them accessible. And to take a step back here, try to tie it all together with the RAMP framework that Dr. Herman talked about. What we're trying to do is increase accessibility, right? So we already talked about there's video gaming systems in everyone's homes already. And then the game controller side, the usability portion of it, as engineers, we can look at anything and fix anything these days, right? That's what we do. And then also we want to demonstrate the physiological outcomes with a lot of testing at the Lakeshore Foundation. And one thing that we've experienced in trying to move what we've already accomplished out into the commercial marketplace is there's a lot of negative feedback we get from the industry. They really don't see a market opportunity and the viability there that I see. And so we'll talk about that too at the very end of the slides. But we've done preliminary market analysis, and how we're trying to kind of stoke the industry and say, look, this is a severely underserved market that has a lot of promise. And then what we'll do is we'll talk in these 4 phases here, and I'll turn it over to Laurie Malone to take over phase 1.
Thank you, Sam, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure. As Sam alluded to, no need to come up with a baseball analogy when you have fun playing games all day. So I'll just touch base real briefly on phase 1 research component related to identifying what were the barriers to successful gameplay in individuals with disabilities. So we looked at 3 different off-the-shelf platforms, the Wii, PlayStation, and Kinect. This phase included individuals used with mobility impairments. They came to the lab for 3 different visits. On each visit, they played 4 different games on the platform. So one day they'd come and play on the Wii, the next day on the Kinect, and the next on the other system. So 8 minutes per game. Some of the outcomes we were interested in, of course, number 1 were what were the barriers to successful play. So their ability to use the controller, the quality of their gameplay, as well as their safety. In addition, enjoyment, very important for long-term adherence as part of the select model that Dr. Vermer talked about. And we also looked at their exercise intensity while playing the games, just monitoring rating of perceived exertion and heart rate. So the barriers that were identified, if we look at the Wii balance board in particular, for ambulatory participants, they were unable to play safely both on the board and the mat. And those who used a wheelchair, of course, they could not use that board, just given the size of the Wii balance board. Whereas the Wii gaming mat, sensitivity was an issue, so it did not register the actions required for successful gameplay, so they were not able to move through the game as required. And then the spread of the buttons was often inappropriate, not suitable for an individual's reach. Some of the other outcomes that I mentioned, we did some correlation analysis, and we found that game performance and exercise intensity were positively correlated to active video game enjoyment. So again, here is our link to adherence, and so we want to make sure that this is the aspect we carry through for the rest of our phases.
All right, and just to talk briefly about what we did as far as adapting the controllers, I'd be more than happy to talk with you for hours about all the little technology gimmicks we did just to make this happen. And you feel free to come over and play the controllers as much as you would like. And we'll go quickly. So for the Wii exercise mat, you can see that as the button layout there. That's a little bit, it's static, right? You can't change where the buttons are. So in the new adaptive controller there, you can see that's on a Velcro mat, and so you can pick up each one of those buttons and move them anywhere you want. Also, you can only press those buttons so hard to get them to trigger. Another thing we did was replace the underlying technology so that you can select different sensitivities. So you can really customize the gameplay to the amount of force you can actually provide and the amount of and the range of motion you have. Here's a quick video, and just to give you an overview. So there's a calibration procedure where you when you lay the mat out to make sure this thing would work in anybody's home, you can store it, roll it out, calibrate it, and be ready to go. And then you can change that sensitivity on the fly as you're playing the game, if you so wish. For the fit balance board here, this is the one on the left there is the existing one, right? That's just big enough for your feet to stand on. We wanted to enlarge that, obviously, so that anybody in a wheelchair or with any assistance device can get on there, like a walker or a cane. And also stick with the adjustable sensitivity, right? Not everyone has the same range of motion and amount of control over their body. We'll go ahead and get the video going. And the other thing that you'll probably notice, first of all, is the illuminated alignment grid, right? Everyone likes LEDs. And so that actually has a function. It tries to keep you give you a good reference about where you are on the board so you avoid any big biases in your position. We also have handrails there to support people who are standing up or in a seated position that want to use it to leverage additional movement. And you can, again, adjust sensitivity as needed. And then we'll talk about phase 3.
Okay. So now, after all these exciting new adaptive controllers were developed, we want to compare energy expenditure using an off-the-shelf version versus the adapted version. So we're currently, this is ongoing, and looking at participants 10 to 60 years of age with lower extremity mobility impairments. Again, they come to the lab 3 times, first for functional assessment as well as familiarization with the system, both the games and the system that they'll use to measure their energy expenditure. So one day they'll come and they'll play on the off-the-shelf and the adapted version of the mat or the board, and whichever they did that day, they'll do the other one the following day, or the following session in random, all randomized. So the outcomes, of course, for this phase are energy expenditure during gameplay. We use the COSMED system to measure their energy expenditure, as well as documenting heart rate and rating of perceived exertion. We're also looking at quality of gameplay, controller usability, enjoyment as well, and participant perspective. So we actually have a sit down with the individuals afterwards to get some more detailed information about what they found with regard to the differences in now playing with these adaptive controllers. So our participant goal is 100 individuals, 75 adults, 25 children. To date, we have 23 adults and 2 youth. So I won't be able to present any results, but I'd like to just give a couple of quotes from some of the participants that give you an indication of the success so far of these controllers. So, in my opinion, it has made gaming better for those of us who are gamers, but we can't go pull the Wii off the shelf and just set it up. I very well could see this as a point of awareness for people with disabilities and able-bodied people to do this together. From another participant, the adapted versions allowed me to play video games where I've never been able to play games before, but also allowed me the security of feeling safe while being active. So right there, I think we're headed, it demonstrates we're really headed in the right direction and excited about continuing along the lines of developing these controllers.
Wonderful. And so the last thing here, right, is like we're not just building stuff, just having it sit in the lab. We want this to get out into the community and be a big contribution. So just a really quick, just a very hyper-conservative estimate here. So let's say, for example, that we are just talking about the Wii Balance Board. We've already got a lot of interest from physical therapy people who have visited. And so let's just say we were only able to capture 5% of that market in, let's say, 5 years or something like that. Well, if we were marketing, I think we could easily make the current version of the device in a non-mass-produced setting for $4,000 a device. So just using those rough numbers there, we're talking about $30 million in revenue in the first couple of years, which, I mean, I'm not a business owner, but I don't think that's too bad as a startup. So that's one of those things that we're using, right? And so there's a million other places that this thing could be. Retirement homes, rehabilitation clinics. This is just that one little subset that I'm using an example, but you can imagine the market is actually much larger than that. And if we partner with the correct companies, we can easily leverage that kind of thing. 2 other things real quickly. We're going out in all directions here. We're trying to make sure that we maximize our potential for getting out to the marketplace. So we're using a company that's begun an organization between UAB and Southern Research in Birmingham, and they're focused exclusively on technology transition. We're working with them. We're also exploring partners with multiple small businesses and all kinds of the video gaming market to see if we can get their help in finding out what's the best way to get out there. And then, so those are what we've done to date. And coming up, we have the clinical version, which you'll see out there. I mean, that's pretty much very close to what you would see in a final device. A little bit more packaging. Obviously, we need Boyd's excellent help in industrial design. You saw how good the animations look. And that would be pretty much ready to go to market. Now, the in-home version, we need to meet that price point. We need to meet the price point of a Wii Fit, which is like $150. So there's going to be some radical redesign there, but luckily we have access to a large group of students, and we've already got a team of them working on it, and we're excited about what they'll come up with this summer. And I believe that's it. So special thanks to everybody at RecTech and the Lakeshore Foundation. Never thought I'd get paid to work on video games. And then all the other excellent engineering team members that I'm privileged to work with at the School of Engineering. So thank you very much.